Go and good afternoon, everybody. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina to my left and Craig Smoak to my right. Baylor with some breaking news in their football program that we kind of got a pretty good feel about yesterday, and today it became official with Jacob Zeno, a near hero 2 years ago in the Big 12 championship game, has decided to enter the transfer portal. We will have other colleges that we drop in on, NC State, Arkansas, among many others. Cowboys roll last night. But the Jacob Zeno news, in the game with Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game, he threw 2 long touchdowns and one that almost won the game with Chris Platt, a track star who was caught from behind by a state championship track athlete at Oklahoma. And from that time, he became kind of a legend, the legend of Jacob Zeno. He's now gone. Wish him the very best of luck. His decision, I'm sure, wasn't easy. Grayson Grudhafer knows he and the family pretty well will join us today at 5 o'clock to discuss the quarterback room, which is still very good. But Paul, Jacob Zeno, not a surprise now that Gary Bohannon is entrenched as a starter at Baylor.
Yeah, I think that Jacob Zeno had some of his legend grow because of 2 throws that he made. I know. I mean, his legend grew because of the 2 throws he completed in the Big 12 championship game. He had many more incompletions in that game, and I think that people really wanted him because they were so desperate. Fans were so desperate to move on from Charlie Brewer, but they completely forgot about Gary Bohannon, and I can't for the life of me figure out why, other than they didn't really have him throwing all that much when he was in under Matt Rule, so people just kind of jumped to a conclusion that he couldn't do that, and we've forgotten that it used to take time. You know, guys used to sit and wait to play quarterback in college. True freshman quarterback or a redshirt freshman quarterback was usually bad news, unless it was Peyton Manning or something like that. But it was usually bad news, and that hasn't changed all that much over the years, even though quarterbacks are better when they come in. So, yeah, he got caught certainly in a numbers game. Everybody else on the roster has passed him by, at least 2 of the 3, and the third one would be Kyron Drones, who was one of their top recruits. So don't expect to see him hanging up there, all that much longer, because he's going to be a guy who's going to compete for the starting job when he's ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's part of the deal, especially in today's college football where, the moment you're not playing, you have that opportunity to, put your name into a transfer portal and go find playing time somewhere else. So obviously, Jacob's not going to be seeing a football field in game action the rest of this year, but he's probably not going to see much of it at Baylor, so I don't think that changes much really. I do worry about Baylor's depth at quarterback because now without Zeno there, you are just basically down to Shapen, and then the rest of the guys are completely inexperienced at this point, and even Shapen has very little experience. So behind your guy and Gary Bohannon, who at this point has about 4 games and maybe 4.5 really with all the times that he saw action under his belt, it's him, and then it's nothing but uncertainty after that, and nothing but inexperience after that. Now, Jacob wouldn't have provided a lot of that either. He only showed flashes, but, people took that Big 12 championship game performance and really ran with that, and I think that's some of why you saw Gary Bohannon sort of fade into the back of most people's minds. It partially was what Paul said, is we just never saw a lot from him. He came in, he ran straight into the back of the offensive line for a gain of nothing, threw an incompletion, and then he was out. And that was basically like his appearances. So there wasn't a lot to chew on, but with Jacob, he made 2 throws that we'd never seen Gary make in his entire career. So it was just like, wow, look at that. And it was also at a time when the Baylor offense could not move the football, so anything that went past like 10 yards through the air was a miracle, and you're like, oh my God, this is a revelation that this offense needed. No, it was just needed a lot of changes, and Jacob was a guy who thrived in that moment. But since then, spring game wasn't very good. Fall practices obviously got beat out, and you can argue that Shapen was even the number 2 quarterback in front of him. So something, just didn't vibe, and best of luck to him. I know that there was a lot of thought that probably went into this decision over a long period of time once the writing on the wall became a lot clearer, and apparently from what Grayson said, there's already a lot of teams that are interested in him, and I'm sure there will be, but best of luck to Jacob.
By the way, he is expected to graduate his undergraduate degree in December, so I guess you could still remain in school and do that. And I know that Charlie Brewer, even though he left Utah, could still continue to take classes online as he tried to decide what he's going to do. It's amazing the 2 names that were such a lightning rod a year ago, as you said, Craig, was a Brewer He's now on looking for a third team, and Jacob Zeno is leaving Baylor to look for somebody else as he's entered the transfer portal. Also, Dave Aranda. Every other week, I get a chance to sit down with the Baylor football coach, and had an idea about the information involving Jacob Zeno. And I was able to get a comment from Coach Aranda. Here is Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, on his thoughts on Jacob Zeno and his transfer. I asked you about Gary Bohannon, about the transfer portal. Jacob Zeno has made the announcement he's leaving. Just your thoughts about how easy it is to leave and then the opportunities for him elsewhere.
Yeah, I appreciate Jacob. I think, I value him as a person. I recognize the qualities he brings as a player. I respect, the way that he competed, and not asking for this type of treatment or not wanting, this type of selection, but just, totally investing in the competition. And I think, when things didn't come his way, accepting it and working to get better. And then when there became a battle for the number 2 spot, same thing. And so nothing but respect for me, for him and his family. I know he's very close with his dad, and this was something they wanted to do, and I can see it and understand it. And I told him that, man, there's nothing but positive stuff for me. I'm gonna help you with whoever and whatever. Please let me know. I want to see him be happy and be somewhere where he can fulfill the stuff he wants to do. I think when you look at where the quarterback position is going, I think there's probably going to be more of this. I would like for us to not have to experience a lot of it. I imagine we're all probably old school in that way of thinking, but from Jacob's part, I understand it and I wish him well.
So that's Baylor head coach Dave Aranda yesterday on the eventual transfer of his quarterback in Jacob Zeno.
We're going to have like a new date in college football to have to circle, and it's like the first month of the season. Who gets their transfer in before the...
Like a reverse signing day?
Yeah, it's a new reverse signing day that college football officials have added to the calendar now without even realizing they were doing that, because Charlie Brewer said, hey, I just got benched, and if I play one more game, I lose my year, and I subsequently lose my last eligibility, so I better transfer. Jacob Zeno looking around, hey, playing time's not going to be coming by anytime soon. Save my year, I'm going to transfer. So it's almost like a reverse signing day now. The 4 games that you get to play or whatever, mark a little circle on that calendar, and that's when guys can go save that year for themselves, which I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, this will obviously be good for Jacob Zeno in the long run, and it should probably be good for Charlie Brewer in the long run, and everybody else that's thrown their name in the hat, they can find a spot that better fits them. But I think just another thing on the plate of college coaches of now, you're 1 month in, the grind really starts with, you just beat Iowa State, and you turn around and you're 4-0, you're getting ready for another top 25 matchup, and you're having to worry about a quarterback transferring, It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, you're going to see this happen every year, because it's not – they may not have played. I think Jacob Zeno played a little bit against Texas Southern, but he hasn't played against anybody else. And because I think Blake Shapen came against Kansas for whatever mop-up time they had. And it's not about, they didn't play in the 4 games. They could stay the whole year and not play in 4 games and still save it. But if you get to the 3rd game and it's evident that you're not going to play, might as well just make the announcement and go and not leave
Jacob
anybody
already
twisted
had
to
his
win.
redshirt year. Mm-hmm. But it used to know. Kid's a junior. Young man's a senior.
Yeah, I have no idea.
A redshirt senior, redshirt freshman. You knew that. Now, I don't even know. Really, it's hard for me to even name the class. It's just quarterback or defensive lineman. But he does have, I think, 3 years of eligibility remaining wherever he may go. Wherever he will go somewhere in his future starting next season.
And it's extra confusing. I mean, I do the Earl Campbell Award every week, and every team uses a different form of identification. So some will use, redshirt this. some put like another abbreviation for it, and then you just completely lose who's actually in what class as far as like, did last year count or did it not? And did, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And yeah, you used to be able to say, oh, that guy's a junior, he's got 2 years left. Like somebody asked me about Gary Bohannon on Saturday because he had played really well in that first half, and they tweeted me right away like, how much time does he have left? And instead of me going, well, he's a junior, so he's got this year, next year, I had to go and like look at his bio and go, okay, so like, does he get that year last year? And does he, like, it's way too confusing.
Zeno threw 1 pass against Kansas, threw 2 passes against Texas Southern. Obviously, Shapen's blown, I think, 1 or 2 passes. Most of it has been Gary Bohannon. So there's that news on a quarterback at Baylor. Your text at 254-339-1122. Grayson Grundhay.